So, hi everyone, good evening, and welcome to this another episode of Extra Bytes, which is almost Team Bytes today. And because we have our wonderful team member, a light chaser and a light explorer, SANDEEP Mathur. And I think we have been having amazing sessions so far with Team Bytes as well. Each session, one after another, has been quite inspiring to all of us. And I'm sure that today we are going to get a rare insight into this entrepreneur and globe trotter that he is, and how he got into photography. So before we really get into hand it over to Sandeep himself, let me just share something in brief about him. So Sandeep Mathur is, I think, born and brought up in Delhi, or he lives in Delhi. So, but as a photographer, I think he was born and brought up in Delhi. So, as a photographer, he was certainly born and brought up in Delhi, and born in Delhi and probably brought up all across the world. And so he had this kind of he's been fiddling around with the cameras because his father had a lot of cameras. But I think it was in 2012 when he suddenly became very serious about photography, and that is when he started clicking cityscapes, so to say. And later on, I think in 2017, he started venturing into landscape photography as well. And what I have personally also noticed in his journey, short journey that I have seen, short journey in the sense that the journey that I was a witness to, uh, he has this immense passion, uh, which drives him to not only go to different places, but to learn and enhance his skills. And that is why we could see him really flourishing and emerging out as somebody that who could, within just a few 3-4 years of having ventured into kind of landscape photography, he is creating images which are making headlines all across the world. His images have been on the cover shots of many magazines, international magazines. He's won coveted awards also. And I think when I was looking back, trying to dig deep into how he started going to all those places, so it comes across as that he, along with his brother, they run a company which has offices in Europe. So I doubt that he started those offices just for the expansion sake. I think he wanted to travel there and he wanted some reason to be in those places. So his offices were also there. So he opened those offices there. That kind of secrets will try and tumble them out. And I'm sure that he's not going to say much because his brother is going to hold him through his collar and say that this is why you opened those offices anyways. So because of that, by virtue of that, he has been managing to not only create a long bucket list, but also ticking them off year after year. So people like us, they don't even dare to create a bucket list because we don't know when we'll be able to really tick them off. And so that is Sandeep Mathur for you. And so welcome, Sandeep ji today. And we would really love to see your journey, listen to it from your own mouth and your own images. And if possible, please give us the glimpse into kind of the workflow, that the process that you have when you come out on the digital dark room and sit across Lightroom and Photoshop. And I think that will be a rare insight for everyone watching this. And we have the panel as the team members. Two of them have already done the team Bytes. So Himadri Bhuvan and from Northeast, and Prakash, he's sitting like a sheikh today. He just came out of the meeting and he already feels one today. And Som Roy, who is going to be very soon be there. And so he's still trying to figure out what kind of backdrop he should choose for his session when he comes next. So, so welcome to the team and welcome Sandeep ji. Over to you. So please make us understand that when you started your business, were you actually getting into cityscapes that point of time, or it was much after that? Because we are not privy to that fact.
Firstly, thank you very much, Jasiji, for that deep insight into my life and my strategies. And then thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak here. Yes, there is, like I said, that's a deep insight. It is true that we actually sought out on how we could work more outside of India, which gave us an opportunity to travel. I always had the travel bug as a kid. My father had the travel bug. I inherited that part from him. And very early on, I was lucky enough to be able to travel overseas to firstly to Singapore many times, then to the UK many times, and then to Europe. And but at that time, my passion was work. I was trying to set up a new business. I had just been handed over the reins of this business, and uh, I was thinking about my work 24/7. But while at work, I was given this opportunity to travel all over the world. And I used to come home and tell my folks that I went to this place and it was so beautiful. This was so beautiful. That was so high. That was so blue. Mm, but I really didn't have the inclination to photograph. So this was around 2010 that I actually bought my first DSLR. In fact, 2008. 2008, I bought my first DSLR, fiddled around with it for a couple of years. 2010, I started learning how to use it in a more useful way. And by 2012, the photography bug had actually caught me. And I will speak about it in my presentation. So like I mentioned, I run a small business with my brother. It's an engineering company, and we make custom built equipment. And we have associations in Germany and in France. In 2011, I was given the opportunity to buy a company in France. What is very good about my business is that when I got into this business in 2000, I think 2000, let's say 1998, we used to have 7 or 8 European competitors. And most of the projects in India were backed by Europeans. Today, I can tell you all the Europeans are out of this country, and it's all homegrown industry right now. And we bought one of those companies who we chased away. So that is how we started this trend of Make in India way back in 2000. And quite happy about that. So, well, that's it. What was the second part of your question?
Yeah. So, but please, 2008 is when you say that when you first purchased your first DSLR. But what were you doing with it?
I was shooting JPEGs. I was shooting my family. My kids were very small at that time, and that took up most of my time. And but we somehow all of us have travel bug. My wife enjoys traveling. My kids love traveling. So it was primarily family holidays overseas. So, and when the kids are small, it's difficult to shoot them with DSLRs. You'll have to focus and it takes time. It was easier to do it with a point and shoot. So we just managed with a point and shoot. 2008, I was shooting JPEGs and it took me about a year to understand that one can shoot RAW. And then I shot RAW and the RAW images were shit because I didn't know that you had to process the RAW images. And then I understood that the raw image is just data, and that data has to be processed. So around 2010, 11, I started getting into Lightroom and Photoshop. I completely taught myself how to use Lightroom and Photoshop. Uh, uh, I was learning, watching photographers like Scott Kelby and Serge Ramilli. In those days, YouTube had a very limited content producers, and these two guys were right in the forefront. So I learned the basic Lightroom and Photoshop skills from them. The problem with that was Sir Remily was the HDR and the oversaturated images. So I thought that is the right way to do it. And for 2 or 3 years, I had all oversaturated images. But I had some friends who stuck by me and kept on encouraging me and kept telling me the images that I made were good. They lied completely. They completely lied, of course, but it made me go on with the photography. So I think 2012 was a important year in my life when I started to bracket images. I started to think about a little bit about the compositions and scale down on the saturation. So that was a landmark here.
Okay, but so in cityscapes, were you shooting those monuments in Delhi, or were you actually traveling out or to places and create cityscapes, looking out for unique cityscapes, or were you were just dabbling with whatever you could get your hands on?
No, like I said, I was traveling to Europe and usually alone. And I usually, sometimes I used to have my evenings or my early mornings to myself. And that is when I started taking the camera out. I was visiting Paris very often because I was buying this company. I was there in 1 year about 6 or 7 times. And so I made sure that I was up in the morning, going out when I liked the early mornings, not because I thought the golden hour was beautiful light, but because I would not have people, I would not run into people. That was the goal. And I usually don't, in my pictures, you will see that there are no people. I don't like to have people. I like to make my viewer feel that he is standing there all alone and he has the whole vista to himself. So because I was in Paris, I was in Lyon, I was in Germany, in Munich or Frankfurt. So I was shooting cityscapes. The concept of going out to shoot for myself didn't occur to me till about 2015. It was usually family holidays or cityscapes because I had business there and I had the mornings and the evenings to myself.
All right, fantastic. But this 2012, when you started getting into all this, um, was there kind of, because I'm sure when you initially, especially when you initially get suddenly the bug hits you, then you are trying to spend as much time as you can with your camera and trying to stop for the smallest of the mundanest of the things that you spot, even when you're with your wife and family. So did you do that? And if you did, probably yes, you probably would have done that. So did it bug your family, and did they get, what has happened? Ye kya? Matlab, why? You come with us. So please spend
Absolutely.
some time with us. And so was there any kind of rebellion going on or no?
Absolutely. This was the biggest problem because the family wanted to have a nice dinner with some wine and a nice place, and that was the blue hour in Europe. In Europe, if you're in the summers, at 9 o'clock is the right time to start shooting. You can't shoot before that because the sun is so bright, and that would be the time to go out for dinner. And so, yeah, uh, without elaborating too much, yes, that was a problem. And so that is where the love for shooting in the morning happened. So while before breakfast, while they were sleeping, I would sneak out and do my photography and be back till they woke up for breakfast. So I did that for a long time.
All right, that's fantastic. And so I think let's anybody wants to ask anything, otherwise we can just jump into the images.
I just want to add to what Jasiji mentioned that we are waiting to look into your workflow. I am excited about that.
Okay.
And learn a
Yeah,
few things.
let's go. Let's see them.
Okay. So I will have.
Savita has already asked you a question, Sandeep. She's asking which city was basically your favorite so far.
I think Paris. Absolutely,
Paris?
Paris. Without a shadow of doubt, Paris.
Yeah.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Are you able to see this?
Yeah, but the presenter part.
Yeah, this.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm basically talking about travel and landscape. And moving quickly, I have a lot of slides, so I will move quickly. So a little bit about me. I'm a passionate traveler and photographer from Delhi. And my wife and two kids are equally fond of traveling. And they're also my greatest critics as far as photography goes, which keeps me grounded and keeps me on my toes. If there's anything I put out there which is not really good, then I will be hauled up. Uh, like we mentioned, my work allows me to travel, and because of that, I took up photography because I wanted to take back nice photographs for my family and friends. And I basically love shooting cityscapes, and I particularly like mixing the ambient light, the golden hours with the artificial lights. And since I started traveling with Jasiji in 2017, the landscape bug also got me. And so if I had to choose between landscapes and cityscapes, I still don't know what I like most, but I enjoy both tremendously. So moving on, this is what I do for a living. This is what pays for my photography. We work in two sectors. One is the aluminum industry. So our customers are like Hindalco, Vedanta, Nalco, the big smelters. And we also work in the ceramic industry, making kilns, where we work with names such as Kohler or Toto or Roca, HSIL, the big sanitary ware producers in India. So not wanting to bore you any further, I'll move further. These are the tools of the trade. So I started off in 2008 with a Nikon D3100. I was in Malaysia. I suddenly had an idea, let me buy a DSLR. And my brother was a Canon shooter. So my first inclination was to buy a Canon camera. And I went to the camera market and looked around. And the model that they were showing me did not have a live view for video. And that was just amazing. A DSLR from Canon, which did not have a live view for video. And even my point and shoot had a LCD screen where you could see the live view for the video. So that was no good for me. So I reluctantly looked at Nikon. And Nikon had just come out with the D3100, which was just the entry level camera, and seemed to be pretty good. And I thought, let me buy this. It's quite a cheap camera. Maybe I paid 32,000 in Malaysian rupees for that camera, and with a standard lens, kit lens. And I think I used it for 4 or 5 years. So it did last me some time before I bought the D7000. Then came a series of lenses. I went to the D7000 mainly because, in fact, I think it's not 2013. I think it's about 2011 that I bought the D7000. That is a mistake. So in 3 years, I bought the D7000 because it could shoot bracketed images. That was the main focus, to buy a camera which had bracketed images. It had an intervalometer. It had a gyroscope. So there were a lot of features in the D7000 which I wanted to have. And from there on, I bought a lot of lenses, and what it shows the progression. The red, the cameras in red are the cameras which I still own, and the lenses that I still own, and the rest I have disposed of long back. But now my main lenses are the 1635, f4 for the wide angle. The 2470 is my go-to lens for most of my photography, and I've started enjoying the 7200 f4 a lot. I can tell you, shooting landscape with a 72-200 is a game changer, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit in my presentation. I also bought the Samyang 14mm because I wanted to dabble in astro. I have dabbled in astro, but it's not really a full-time obsession up till now. This is typically my gear for a photography tour. This is what I actually took to Iceland in 2017. So as you can see, there is a main camera body, a backup body, 2 tripods. The small tripod has now been replaced by a tabletop, which pretty much does the same job. Of course, I would have L brackets. The L brackets are always on my camera, multiple batteries, lots of tools, triggers, and cleaning equipment. You will see some CDs, and I always take CDs because I put them under my tripods. If I'm in a muddy area or a area which is sinking, then I put these CDs under my tripod so that the tripod doesn't sink. And of course, I would have some belts and a viewer for direct sunlight, which now I don't need with the Z6 actually. Card case, some filters. I carry filters, very limited filters, because as Jasiji knows, I like the screw type filters. I don't use the complete filter system. I think this works better for me. So this is what I would typically take on a photo tour. I am an avid user of apps. These are, of course, the photography apps. PhotoPills and Planet Pro pretty much do the same thing, but just maybe some differences in the two. And any shoots that I plan for a trip, I would have a plan in Planet Pro and PhotoPills, whether it's sunrise, sunsets, or it's the Milky Way. I also use weather apps extensively. When I'm traveling Norway and Iceland, I would use Aurora finders. So this is a very important part of my armory whenever I'm traveling. Please interrupt me anytime you have a question. I'm quite happy to answer.
Yeah, right now continue. We have few things. I have few things, but we'll come to them later.
So I've shot my Delhi monuments. I think pretty much everything has been shot. I have a long-term project in mind, which I am completing slowly, not as fast as I would want to, but I want to do a time lapse of every Delhi monument, every major Delhi monument. I would like to do a time lapse from uh, sunset to the lights coming on. Most of the Delhi monuments now are artificially illuminated, and they look beautiful in the night sky. So I have a project in mind to do uh, a time lapse for from sunset to late evening.
Count me in to assist you, Sandeep ji.
Anytime you're here, Himadri, I'm waiting for you.
Awesome.
So, of course, the Lotus Temple. This is, of course, not in Delhi. This is the Lakshmi Vilas Palace in Baroda, a very, very beautiful palace. I I selected this one because I won a prize uh, for this. And the Safdarjung tomb is really one of my favorite monuments in Delhi. It offers a lot of compositions, and this is a particularly interesting one for me because it's bracketed. I bracketed the hell out of this because it's a very, very high dynamic range, and it's also focus stacked. So it's a very favorite shot of mine, quite popular in the social media. Apart from this, of course, I have shot the Agar Singh Gabauli. This is a a vertical pano, a vetorama, if you like. Lot of details in this. The Humayun's tomb and Akshardham temple. This is a viewpoint which I've not seen a lot of people take. And usually you will get stopped by policemen if you stand here and take pictures. They don't like you to take out a big camera and a big lens to take this. But this is shot at around 160 mm. So you need a long lens to get this view, or otherwise you don't get the detail.
Sandeep ji, this is Akshardham, right?
Akshardham, that's right.
Now, Akshardham, if I am right, the photography is not allowed.
No.
So from where do you shoot?
You shoot it from the road. And there is a police check post. They have a police tower right on the right of this. So
Okay.
you have to watch out that if this guy is looking towards you and he sees you with a big lens or even a tripod, immediately there'll be cops there to stop you from taking this image. So
Okay.
what you have to do is you have to keep your camera ready in your car, open your boot. If you have a five-wheeler, five door car, keep your boot open. The moment you see that the guy is looking other way, pick it out, take your shot, put it back. That is the only way you will take the shot.
So the only way is high ISO and all.
Beg your pardon?
Stealth mode.
The
Sorry?
only the only way is high ISO.
High ISO, I was lucky. This was shot in the very, very initial days when they were not so sharp. And I was able to put up a tripod, put on my long lens, shoot it. After I shot, these guys came and stopped me. By then, I had my shot. So I was
You
very
can
lucky.
imagine
Now
that
this place will be blocked. Everybody
Now
will be
it's
shooting from there.
possible to get this shot. You can get a shot handheld if you're fast.
Watch out for the police.
Yes, exactly. So, like I mentioned, I've dabbled in Astro. This 2020, there hasn't been much to shoot. We had the annular solar eclipse. I shot that extensively, and I managed to get a shot of the Neowise comet. Of course, I had to drive out of the city for about an hour and a half. I looked around for a slightly dark area around Delhi, and you can imagine how difficult that is to find a bottle for sky in and around Delhi. That is virtually impossible. But I spotted something recce. After trying for about 10 days to shoot it from my rooftop, I finally drove outside Delhi to shoot this. And I was lucky enough to get this shot. Very, very happy to get this shot. Apart from that, I've shot the Milky Way. I started getting interested in 2000, in the Milky Way in 2018. I read up all the books, looked at all the tutorials, and shot this. Uh, you know from Delhi how you know from India how difficult it is to find dark skies. So this is shot in Gujarat in Mandvi beach. I saw that that was a bottle 3 sky or even a bottle 2 sky, looking out over the sea. I managed to get very good details in the Milky Way. I shot this image of the Orion constellation. Uh, you will not be able to see much, but if you zoom in, you can actually see the nebula in this. And this is the Milky Way we shot in Norway in 2018. We were shooting the aurora, and suddenly I turned back and I almost saw it with my eyes. But of course, that is the time when the core is not visible in Norway. So I didn't get the core, but I'm quite happy to get this Milky Way. Moving on, I will show a small time lapse that I shot in the Kutch region, shooting the Milky Way. I hope this plays. No, I am not able to play this for some reason. Maybe we can come back to this later.
Yeah.
So I have shot my the portraits. I shot portraits, Holy Vrindavan, the Babas of Varanasi, and this shot from shot from Jama Masjid of this little boy on Eid. He was very uh, keen to have his photograph taken, and I shot him, and this turned out to be very popular on social media because it just has an endearing quality. This little boy posed for me, and I took a slow shutter with a flash, managed to get him sharp, and then the slow shutter managed to blur out the rest of the people. So this is quite popular. And I usually, when I wish my friends Eid, this is the photograph I use to wish them. So I mentioned that 2012 was an important year in my photography journey. This is where I actually went out to shoot. I kept a day for myself to shoot. I was in Germany in I think it was Frankfurt. I was in Frankfurt for a conference, and I stayed outside of Frankfurt because the city is usually very busy during exhibitions and conference. I stayed out of the city, and I had a day to myself. One evening, I went to Cologne. I shot Cologne extensively, and the next day, I asked the hotel owner if there was anything to shoot, and he pointed me to this old village called it's called Zones now, but it was in the initial days it used to be called Festizones, and Festizones was a fortress. It means fortress, and it's really a medieval village. They have their own granary. They had a windmill, and really a quaint little town. And this is the first time I shot brackets. I thought about my compositions, and I, I think this was an important visit for me, having shot Cologne as well as this village, where I really put my camera through its paces. And this is where I learned how to edit and learned Photoshop. And I think for me, this is where my photography journey really became a passion. After that, there was a series of visits. So now I'm covering cities and countries. Prague was a very beautiful town, very photogenic town. The most famous view of Prague is this view of the five bridges. And the second bridge is the bridge that you see here. This is the second bridge, the most famous bridge of Prague. And sorry. And I am somewhere to the right of this castle. This is the Prague Castle. I think this Prague Castle is from before the 1000. So I think it was, if I check my notes, yes, it was built around 880, one of the oldest and the largest castles in Europe. And I am, you can get a clear view of the five villages as you come down the castle. And this is somewhere in this region here. Are you able to see my pointer?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 blue hour shots of Prague. I was here with my wife, and I didn't get too many opportunities to shoot because the weather was very, very bad. And in those days, I like to have nice weather, nice colorful sunset. I didn't know what was dark processing at that time. Not that I know very well what dark processing is now, but I'm just better than 2014. After this, let me take you to Istanbul. I spent a lot of time in Istanbul in 2010 and 11. No, in 2007. I spent a lot of time in Istanbul, maybe 5 or 6 visits in Istanbul. I was doing a project there. And although I visited all the places, I had time to visit, but never photographed it seriously. So 2015, I was going to Kyiv in Ukraine. I stopped over in Istanbul and shot it extensively. The Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque, and this, I love this Maiden's Tower. It's a small islet in the Bosphorus, a very, very beautiful setting. And you can see the Blue Mosque and the Galata Tower in this composition. And this is just a beautiful spot for the sunset. I also shot the most interesting part of Istanbul that I found was this basilica system. It's a system where all the water is collected, built. Let me check my notes again. I think it was built by the Romans. Yeah, built in the sixth century by the Romans. This became very, very popular after Dan Brown's Inferno came out. And the final scene is shot here where the bomb is hidden. It became very, very popular, and there were a lot of visitors here after 2016. But before that movie came out, there were very few visitors here. This is also very important for me. And I go back to the image that I showed you with my gear, where I was traveling with 2 cameras. This where somebody kicked, I had 2 cameras. I was using a wide angle and my other camera was on the floor, and somebody kicked it into the water. This is all water inside here, and somebody kicked it in, and I just jumped into the water and fished the camera out, only hoping that my SD card was not damaged, so that all the pictures of the whole day were, I could save those images. Luckily, I didn't know it at that time. I wiped my camera, put it back, took out the battery, and I took out the SD card. The SD card was okay, so I saved my images. It's only, then after this trip, I went to Kyiv. I shot Kyiv with my backup camera, the D5100 at that time. It's only later that I discovered that the D7000, after going completely into the water, was still functioning. The only thing was that the LCD screen and the viewfinder were not working. The LCD on the top, not the back LCD. The LCD on the top and the viewfinder were damaged, but I could still take excellent images with that camera after being underwater for about 15 seconds by the time it took me to jump in and get it out. I still have that D7000 and I use it extensively for my astrophotography. So I can tell you that.
Awesome. Did you get the viewfinder and the LCD repaired, or you left it like that?
I showed it to the Nikon service center. They said, if we open this camera, we might do permanent damage. And I showed it to some other repair companies, and they all told me the same thing, that if it's working, don't touch it. If you open it, we are not sure that we could fix it. So I left it as that. I can shoot with the LCD, and that's why I use it for Astro. When I use it for Astro, then I can just use the back LCD to focus, and that's it. I don't need it. Don't need the viewfinder. So I can tell you I'm quite happy with the Nikons. Moving on, after Istanbul, one of my favorite countries to visit and to visit not only for photography, but also the food and the culture. And a little bit, of course, I'm biased because we own a company in Lyon. We are based in Lyon. So yeah, I think I like France a lot. I start off with this image of the Eiffel Tower from Montparnasse. I don't know if I'm sure my pronunciation is completely wrong, but you get the drift. So this is a 210-meter tower, overlooks the city and offers a beautiful view of the Eiffel Tower. La Défense, you can see behind the Eiffel Tower. And I think if my memory serves me right, no, I don't want to risk it. But it offers a beautiful view of the city. And I wanted to show this image. The first time I posted this on one of the popular Facebook groups that we all used to be part of, I was completely castigated for the composition. I was completely castigated by mainly the admins. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I was castigated that composition is completely wrong. You've placed the Eiffel Tower in the center and it doesn't work. And well, there was a lot of criticism. But as it happens, I put the same image on 500px. And I think today, the last count, I don't know where I checked, the last time I checked, this had actually sold 10 copies. In the last 6 years, I've sold 10 copies of this image. And so not bad for a wrong composition, completely wrong composition. But the message I want to give out is that take everybody's criticism. There's no problem. You must hear it, but you must believe in your convictions.
What is wrong composition?
Well, the criticism was that the Eiffel Tower is centered.
Composition, right?
The dead center.
So, on a lighter note, next time onwards, I'm going to keep all my compositions centered composition, because those compositions tend to sell more.
Those people who commented it is wrong, their brain was off-centered.
No, but anyway, that is just in a lighter.
Composition is subjective. It is not right or wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I shot it on the side. I shot it. I was there for 2 hours, and this is a nice place to photograph because they have a glass window, and it can get very, very cold there. And they have a glass window, but they have a slit in the glass, so you can actually put your camera, the lens out, and then take this shot, which is not, you don't find that assistance for photographers everywhere. For example, if you go to Cologne, and you shoot the Cologne Bridge. It's just glass. You have to shoot it through 1 inch of glass. And if you go to, say, London, and you shoot London from the Shard, you have to shoot it through a glass window. And there is a strategy to shoot through the glass. But here, they give you a slit. You can push your, you need a high tripod, of course, but you can shift your camera really close up to the glass, and the lens goes out of the slot, and you can shoot a nice clean view. So this is one of my favorite places in Paris to shoot. I have many compositions. Eiffel Tower, I just love the Eiffel Tower. I have multiple compositions. So I'm afraid I'm warning you that I'm going to inflict you with some views of Eiffel Tower, the next slides. This is one closer view of the Eiffel Tower looking up. I was there on a particularly overcast day, and I think it went well with the dark and ominous clouds. Two popular views. This is a popular spot. Trocadero Place in Paris is a very popular place. It's actually built to honor the Battle of Trocadero, where the French army defeated the Spanish rebellion and put the Spanish monarchy back in place. So this is to honor that victory. And it's a very common place, very popular place, but you have to be here at 4 o'clock in the morning to get it completely empty. And actually, I got out of the taxi, and from the taxi, I saw somebody had already placed his tripod on this spot. And this is the center of the center of the leading line. But I think he saw my disappointed face, and he immediately offered, "Why don't you come and shoot from here? I'm done." So that was really nice of him. And
very rare as well.
Very nice gentleman. I think he was also a young guy. In fact, must be in his early 20s. And he said, "Why don't you come and shoot?" And then
well, it was 2015. That's why. Go now. You will not get that kind of welcome.
You meet nice people all the time. Let me put it this way. And I like this shot because it's a very common composition. But in this image, you will see the Eiffel Tower is framed by the moon here and the Venus scene. And that is why I like the shot a lot. And the image on the right was shot a little later when the sun came up, and there were beautiful colors to complement the Eiffel Tower. The only problem in shooting early morning is they switch off the lights of the Eiffel Tower. The lights of the Eiffel Tower are on only at night. And that, but at night, there are about 1 million visitors here. And that is not my cup of tea.
So, but what about compositing here? Taking one image of the lighted kind of Eiffel Tower from here in the evening or sometime in the night, and then probably creating a composite with this.
Yes, Jesse, that 2015, I had no idea about compositing.
Okay.
But yeah, now if I do it, maybe I will do that. One of the most beautiful churches in Paris, Saint Chapel. This was the church used by the royalty, and this is within the palaces. This is actually within the palaces, but later on it was thrown open to the public. This is the first floor. Sorry, this is the ground floor, and you will enter this church, and you will say, right, this is a nice church. Nothing. Yeah, it's a nice church, and that's about it. And then there is a small staircase that will take you on the first floor. And It's a very narrow staircase and quite claustrophobic actually. You go winding up, you go up onto the first floor, and this is the view that you will get. This has 15 windows with all the stories from the New Testament and the Old Testament in stained glass. It's an extremely beautiful church. You are just spellbound, absolutely spellbound in this place. I shot over people. Again, there were 1 million people here. I went here in 2014, but it was closed. In fact, there was a strike. There was a strike by the people managing. So I was not able to come in. And 2015, I managed to get in, and there were 1 million people. So the only option I had was to shoot over their heads, and this is the view I got. And then I took a complete panel from the. I stood at the end of the church, and then took a complete panel right up to the top. I think this is some 8 or 9 shots to take the shot.
But
All these images are handheld, Sandeep ji.
Handheld. You can't take a tripod inside any church in Paris.
Right. So you need to have a good camera with good ISO capabilities.
That's right. And also, you must have it on silent. You cannot. You must have a silent shutter because they will not like it if you go click here. Somebody will come and stop you, and you are being constantly jostled. There are people all around you. People are walking up and down, so that is also a problem. And it's not the easiest of shots. And of course, you are fighting with low light. The light is quite large.
Right.
The image is not representing the actual light in the church. It's quite dark actually.
And on top of that, not on top of that. What will be the time when there will be less people?
What is the time when?
When there will be less people, so that
they just open. I don't know in the morning, and there's already a queue waiting for people to get in the morning. There's a long queue to get in. I think there were at least 100 people ahead of me, and they let in a few people at a time. So they let in maybe 20 people. 20 people come out, and that is how they manage it. It's full of people, and this is right next to the Notre Dame. And fortunately, when the Notre Dame caught fire in 2019, they saved this church. So you can still go and shoot this at this time.
I think, Sandeep, the other thing with handheld shots is the access management, right? So I know there's a little bit of probably in the ceiling, a little bit of misalignment, but how do you typically get it bang on?
No, this is a shot with a 16 mm with my 1635 at the widest possible. And so it was a little difficult to, the perspective blend was a little difficult, but it's not perfect, but well, what the hell. The important part is to see the vastness and the magnificence of this beautiful church.
It's a phenomenal job, like the way you've been able to get this, given the vastness of the place, is amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I agree with Som because I've not been to many churches, but yes, wherever I've been, I've tried, and I know that how difficult it is. It is almost impossible to even stand properly at the spot that you choose. Yeah. So this is phenomenal. There's one question from Subhadeep, I think. For the church interior, did you expose for the highlights?
Yeah. This would be bracketed. If I was shooting it, I don't remember this from 2015, but I would normally bracket it.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so because otherwise something is going to blow out or something is going to
There would be 9 shots with 3 brackets, so 27 shots merged.
Wow, that is crazy. But with bracketing handheld and pano handheld is something I don't know what to say.
So the next image should surprise you more. This is an image of Notre Dame, and from 2014. And here you can see the people. Okay, I didn't cut out the people because I wanted to show how crowded this church was. And this is 18 shots. It's a pano of 18 shots into 3. So 18 into 3, about 54 shots. And you could well argue what would be the point of shooting a pano. You could get this in a single frame, but the kind of detail you can get out of this shot, you can see this is, you can count each brick in the ceiling. This is the kind of detail you can get in the shot. You can count each and every brick.
That's really nice.
So, and of course,
What lens, Sandeep?
this is shot with a 35mm 1.8. I think I stopped it down to 2.2 because this was really dark. Notre Dame is really, really dark. I cannot tell you how dark it is. And this is, so I had planned it that way, that I only went in with one lens, the 35mm on my D7000, stopped it down to 2.2, and then shot this. And as we know, Notre Dame is famous for the coronation of Napoleon, and it was destroyed in the French Revolution. They rebuilt it again. It's been rebuilt many times, and in 2019 we had the very sad fire. The fire, I think it was in April. From memory, it was in April 2019. And the fire raged for 15 hours. It took 15 hours to douse the fire. And the French government has taken up this up as a project to restore it. And the target is to restore it by 2024. So a very favorite place of mine. I was very sad to see it burn, and looking forward to 2024. I hope I can go and shoot it again.
But then again, even if they restore it, you probably won't get the same kind of feeling or the same kind of light or details or colors that you get here.
Yeah.
So probably you have captured something that is extinct.
Yeah.
So I think the view of Notre Dame, even from outside, because Seine flows through it, that itself is a joy in the evening. So, do you have any external shot, Sandeep?
I do. I did not put it in this presentation because, well, there's so much more to see.
Also, I see so many similarities between the color palette here and what I'm not saying the paintings, but the color palette of those paintings by Da Vinci. I'm sure Sandeep ji will agree to it.
Sorry, Himadri, I didn't hear you.
I said I see so much similarity between this image, the color palette of this image, and the color palette that Da Vinci used to use.
Okay. I think this is, I've not enhanced the colors. I think the colors are subdued, which is not really me. I like to saturate my colors, but I think here I didn't take that liberty to some extent. I could say that.
I think Himadri, the other thing is all about Renaissance, right? So maybe that contributed.
Moving on, another favorite place of mine to shoot, the Louvre Pyramid. Partly because when I read the Da Vinci Code, and there were a lot of controversies associated with the Louvre pyramid. The first, of course, the greatest controversy was putting such a modern structure in a traditional Louvre palace, which was originally a palace and now one of the most traditional museums in the world. And President Mitterrand, he decided to give this project to a Chinese American architect called IMP, I think it was IMP, and that created a lot of controversy with the French people. And even today, if you go to Louvre, you will mainly see foreigners there. You don't see a lot of French people. It's usually the tourists who like this place, but I love this place. I just completely love this place, and there were a lot of stories associated with the Louvre pyramid, that this has 666 glass pieces of glass, which is the number of the Satan. And Mary Magdalene was,
Number of the beast.
I beg your pardon?
The number of the beast. The Antichrist.
Number of the beast.
It's the number of the Antichrist. Yeah.
Exactly. And Mary Magdalene is buried under this, in the buried under this.
That's
Not-
Robert Langdon. That's
Yes.
Robert Langdon's controversy.
Exactly. In Da Vinci Code. So that really fired my imagination about Louvre, and Louvre has remained one of my favorite places to shoot in Paris.
Did you get to Mona Lisa at all?
Yes, of course, of course.
I've never dared.
I have actually, and Mona Lisa belongs to the Tuscany region. They say that the model for Mona Lisa belonged to the Tuscany region. I actually went to a wine tasting tour where they said that she was from this village or this farm. So that was quite interesting. But I think all the Italian Tuscany farms claim that Mona Lisa was from their family. That is a very popular way to market their wines. Moving on. France is not only about Paris. There are so many other beautiful parts. This Lake Annecy, not far from the French Alps, a very, very beautiful part. This is Chateau d'Annecy, and this was belonging to the royal family. But now this has been turned into observatory, and it's a museum and an observatory type. But it's a beautiful place. I had gone for a meeting. I drove to a factory nearby, and then took a detour to visit all these places, and got these nice views. Moving on, one of my favorite places in France, near Normandy, Mont Saint-Michel. Mont Saint-Michel was almost like a dream for me, that will I ever be able to go to Mont Saint-Michel? Will I ever be able to shoot Mont Saint-Michel? And 2015, I got a day off from work, took a train to the nearest station, hired a car. And so this was in 2015. So I hired, like usual Indians, hired a cheap car. And when I landed there, they didn't have the car I had booked, and they upgraded me to a BMW. So that was a big, big deal for me to be able to drive to Mont Saint-Michel in a BMW. That's the first time I drove a BMW. And it was just magical. Maybe it was because I got upgraded to a BMW, or the place. It was just a magical experience to be standing here and shooting Mont Saint-Michel. It was, for me, it was, I had goosebumps, I can tell you that, because I had dreamed of shooting this for almost 2 or 3 years before I actually was able to do this.
Sandeep?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've not been to this place after 2015?
No.
Okay. So a thought has been crossing my mind ever since you started this presentation on Paris and all, the France and all. So let's say this is a magical image. Let us say if you happen to go there now, 2021 maybe, after Corona and all. So and you are standing there right in front of this and similar kind of sky. What? How will you treat that differently during your shoot and maybe even post processing? Is there anything that you will do different now?
I think the different would be compositions. There is a 3 kilometer walk from the hotels. There is a location where they are allowed to have hotels, and the hotels to the Mont Saint Michel is a 3 mile walk. I think it's a 3 mile walk. So as I started walking, I I was at this composition. I could see the whole view. I planted my tripod, and I had just one evening. I had just one evening. I just planted my tripod. I said, I want one shot. If I walk away with one shot, I'm happy. I'm not going to try anything. So I actually, the whole duration, the idea was to shoot the sunset and wait for the lights to come on and then add the lights to the sunset shot. So that was the goal. I did not move my tripod for 3 hours. It was cold. It was around 2 degrees or maybe even 0 degrees by the time I finished. I just stood there. I was hungry. I was cold. I had nothing to eat or drink. I may be having some peanuts or something, but nothing really substantial. So I think from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, I was standing here. And I was told that all the restaurants would close at 7. So after 7, I would not get any dinner. So that was already in my mind that I'm going to stay hungry tonight. I'm not going to get anything to eat, but I wanted to get this one shot. I did not try any composition. I got one more shot, which was appreciated by people on social media, was when I was walking. You can see this. This is the walkway. You are supposed to walk away, and I'm standing on this walkway as it curves back in. So moving ahead, I was able to get the shot with some car trains. There's only one bus that runs every half an hour on this causeway, and I was able to get one more shot in the blue hour with light trails, which it's a decent enough shot. But next time I go, I want different compositions. There are a lot of compositions and a lot of things to try, and I would definitely like to have 2 or 3 days here to shoot all the compositions. Another interesting fact is this is all quicksand. There are a lot of people who walk in to get the reflections and stuff like that. They get stuck here, and the tide comes in and they drown. Usually they have at least 1 or 2 tourists who get stuck in the quicksand here and actually die.
No, but how about it, tying the CDs under your shoes? Will that help?
With my weight, I will probably need something much more than CDs.
That's why I am coming next time.
Then I can stand on Prakash's shoulders. While he's thinking, I'll be taking my shot on his shoulders.
Prakash has its own gravity, by the way, Sandeep.
So next time when you go, at least carry more than peanuts.
But incidentally, I did go up to Mont Saint Michel. I was thrown out of two restaurants, but the third one took pity on me, and I had the best brandy crepe.
Oh man!
So they bring you a flaming crepe. In this place is famous for that. You can get a crepe with cream or honey or a lot of things. But the one I had was a flaming crepe, and they pour brandy over it, set it on fire, and serve it to you. And it was, after all that walking around, it was just heaven. It was just
done next year. Finish.
Finish.
All the cold, All the 0 degree and 2 degrees, everything gone in an instant.
Perfect.
And I've been lucky enough, this image from 2014 was picked up by Photoshop Users magazine. Uh, Very lucky. Actually, Photoshop User magazine called me up in 2017 when I was in Iceland.
Oh,
And they said they wanted the image of Holi that I showed earlier with the guy shooting. They wanted to use that for edition. They wanted to come out on India. But I told them, look, I've just got to Iceland. There's no way I can dig out the original images and send them to you. So they said, okay, never mind. Drop us a line when you get back, and then we'll talk about this. I sent them a message. There was no reply. I thought they'd forgotten about it. It was done and over. But then I got an email from them, this time asking me for this image. And this came out in March, in the March issue. And in 2018 March, this image came out on the cover. And then they also did a feature on me. And so I was quite happy about this. Moving on, jumping countries to Italy now. Again, one of my favorites. The most magical place, the Vatican City.
Oh, man.
Again, uh, I've shot the Vatican extensively. Uh, the trick to shooting the Vatican is you must take an early morning tour. During the day, you will find that there are at least, I don't know, you will not be able to see the floor. There are that many people. I'm sure most of you have visited the Vatican and you know what I'm talking about. There are people and people and people. So I looked up online and found a tour which started at 7 o'clock in the morning. That is before the general public is allowed in. And it was not that much more expensive. So I said, okay, let me try this. And the moment I met the guide, I showed her an image on my phone. Hey, look, I want to shoot this staircase. She said, "Oh, it's good that you told me now because now this is not on our route. We no longer because this is no longer in use, and we don't usually take people here. So now that you've told me, I'll make sure that I show you this." So she was very nice, and she first took me here. And because it was so early in the morning, there were no people. I didn't have to clone out anybody. I didn't have to take any multiple shots. I just took my camera, went over the railing with my 16 to 35, shot some 10 or 15 shots, and I was done with. I just picked out.
So were you the only one in the tour, or like there was other people too with you?
No,
on the
there
tour?
were about 10 or 15 people in the tour.
Oh, it's nice that the guide actually took you out.
1 year later, I went with my family for the same tour, and there were about 100 people on the same tour because everybody got to
Wow.
So the good news travels very fast. So that traveled very
Lovely.
fast, and I don't think you can get this shot anymore. There are always people traveling. What I have not put in this presentation, and now I'm regretting that I did not put, this is a common enough shot. A lot of people, and if you go to 500 pix, px.com or 1x and you say Momo staircase, you'll get hundreds of images.
Momo staircase?
Yeah, this is called the Momo staircase.
That's a funny name for such a nice place. But
That
okay.
that is the architect who designed the staircase.
Okay.
And what is unusual is you can also shoot up. You can go down and shoot up, and the view up is equally interesting. And now I'm regretting that I did not put this shot in this presentation.
But we can have
go ahead and
a second session, part 2, part Dukes. Dukes,
So
how they call it?
that is a
DUX.
more unusual shot
part 2.
and quite an interesting shot too. You can see
Well,
that.
we can still put it up. You can still put it up on your HDD if it is there. We would like to see it.
Yeah, I think it's on my Insta. You will find it on my Insta.
Okay.
Again, you have to bracket the crap out of it because the dynamic range is tremendous. You will have to do it handheld because when you're looking up, there is it's like a opaque glass. So there is a very bright light and you are shooting from the dark. So to get all the details, you'll have to do at least a 7 stop exposure bracket. Otherwise,
Wow.
अरे नहीं 6000 ISO पे ले लो.
yeah, I mean, you'll have to explain. See, there is not much time. You can't because you have about 100 people or 50 people waiting for you while you take these shots. So it's a little, you are a little embarrassed that how long can you keep everybody waiting for you to take the shot because none of the other people are interested. They want to go ahead and see the museum, and they just think of you as the crazy Indian guy. They don't know what are you doing, taking these pictures.
Right.
Very famous spot. I've shot this, but every time I go to Rome, I've been to Rome about 4 or 5 times in the last 10 years, and every time I go into this shot. And this is the Ponte Sant'Angelo and the St. Peter's, and I just love this view. I don't know why, but I just love watching the sunset from this view, and then adding getting the street lights and the ambient, mixing the ambient light with street lights. I just love this composition. I've got panos, I've got this shot, I've got every kind of shot.
Lovely.
So I showed you this bridge, shot from the other bridge. This is shot from below with the Castle San Angelo, and then I'm on top. Anybody who's been to Rome will promise you that they have never seen this bridge with no people. And I just got a 2-minute window early in the morning when there was nobody on this bridge, and I got the shot. I've never seen this without people, never ever. Usually people just hang around, and there are lovers here, there are people here. It's just teeming with people, very lively, lot of street musicians playing, very lively place. But just to get this empty was a feat in itself. Another favorite place, the Trevi Fountain. Anybody who's been to Rome, again, Rome is always full of tourists. There are people everywhere. There are just people on top of people.
Your images looks like you have shot all of them during this lockdown period.
Even lockdown, nobody bothered about the lockdown in Italy. They didn't believe in lockdown.
People on top of people.
Yes, people falling out of windows. There are people, I mean, we complain about people in India. I would complain about people in Rome. And I deliberately took an apartment right next to the Trevi Fountain because I've been here thrice. I could never shoot it without people. So this time.
What about morning blue hour?
This is 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 maybe, 4:30 in the morning. And I am shooting this with 16 mm Prakash, and it still wasn't enough to get the whole image. There was no way I could get the whole image. I could not do a pano. I could not do anything. I finally found a shop window, and I stepped on, there was a small ledge, there was a ledge which was not more than 4 inches. I stood on that and took this shot to be as far possible as to get this composition. Otherwise, even with 16 mm, I could not get this shot. So
I think 12 or 14 mm will be better.
I didn't have a 14 mm. 16 was the best I had.
I'm saying now maybe.
Or maybe a 12 mm late next time I go there.
Yeah. Sandeep ji, you mentioned that you could not take a pano. Why?
Um, even the panel was not covering the ridge. I was cutting off either the top or the bottom, and there was severe distortion. Severe distortion. I knew I would not be able. I did shoot it. I think I do. I did shoot it at 16 mm. I tried the panel that we'll see later what to do with it. But I haven't tried in the last 3 years. But I was not able to stitch it before that.
I'm sure PTGUI will do a good job.
Maybe that is an idea.
Yeah.
Maybe I should try it now. I haven't tried it in the last 3 years, but I should try it now. Maybe you're right.
Yep.
Moving on from Rome, city of Verona, uh, the city of Romeo and Juliet. Shakespeare's Shakespeare's Juliet is set up in Verona. Love the Verona views, love the food in Verona. I think the best food in Italy, arguably, is from Verona. So I love the city. I've been here multiple times, and I just love going back to Verona. Burano, just because of the sheer colorful houses. Nothing great. I was here during the day. So there was no golden hour. The last boat from Burano left at 7 o'clock. We didn't know that. We thought there would be boats all evening. And suddenly we realized that the last boat from Burano would leave at 7. And the last boat from Venice back to, last train from Venice to, I think we were in Verona. We were in Verona. The last train from Venice to Verona was at 9 o'clock. If we caught the 7 o'clock boat, we would reach Venice at 8. And then it was another boat ride of 1 hour to reach that train. 1 minute here or there, and we would miss the train. And really spending a night at the Venice station was not really my idea of fun. And it's usually difficult to get rooms in Venice and frightfully expensive. So anyway, we caught the boat. And I didn't tell my wife and kids that I had one ulterior motive. One motive, I needed one shot from Venice, which I was not going to miss. And I had to get that somehow. So just moving on. This is the shot I wanted. I had shot this before also, but I had shot it with a wide angle. The problem with a wide angle shot is that the tower behind this gets so pushed back that it's no longer significant. You know, it just loses its significance. So I said, whatever I do, I need one sunset shot of Venice with the boats and one of these traditional street lights and this tower. And I had to shoot it with a zoomed out lens. So fortunately, the boat from Burano dropped us at this pier. There was just a 1 minute gap between the next boat and this. I told my wife, I'm coming in 2 minutes, but whatever happens, if I don't make it to the boat, you guys go ahead. Don't stop. And I was listening to her yelling at me, but I kept running. I ran here, took my shot, took my brackets, ran back, jumped on the boat, literally jumped on the boat, and we reached the Venice station. And we had a plan, you know, that my son and I would run. We had to stamp our tickets. In Italy, I don't know if you guys know, you have to stamp your tickets. If you don't stamp your tickets and you're on a train, there's a very, very costly fine. So the idea was he would have 2 tickets, I would have 2 tickets, we would stamp it. The girls would run to the train, and they literally ran and got into the last carriage before the doors closed. The doors closed, we did. So we just made it, and that is what makes travel photography so interesting, that you set these unrealistic targets for yourself, and when they come off, you feel happy and you want more of this stuff.
So to move around with you, you'll have to be a runner as well.
Sometimes yes, sometimes yes.
To move around with him, you have to be prepared for some running, some fast driving, some uh, kind of. So he does not look behind. So you will have to look for him. He will never look back for you, whether you are there or not.
No, but I always enjoy the company.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
need.
no, I know.
Okay. After that breakneck shot, rather calming shot from Florence, Ponte Vecchio, very famous old bridge. Uh, first origins, I think, in the 800s, 880. The interesting part of this bridge is when the German army was retreating um, after World War II, all the other bridges on this river, I think this is the Arno River, if my memory serves me right, this is the Arno River. All the other bridges on this river were destroyed. On the express orders of Hitler himself, this was the only bridge that was spared. I don't know why it was spared, why Hitler had a had a soft corner for this bridge, but this was the only bridge that was saved. And earlier, there are shops here. There are shops here. Shops were owned by butchers and the tanners, the leather workers. But now these shops sell the most expensive of jewelry and watches. All the Rolex and the most expensive jewelry and watches are sold in the shops on this bridge. So that is the interesting part of this bridge. But again, this is a big panel. I think 9 shots to get this, and quite a big panel. I have a big print of this in my hanging in my house, and looks really good. Moving on, one of my favorite places in Italy, Manarola. These are the five cliff towns of Italy called the Cinque Terre. It's also called the Italian Riviera. And this is if memory serves me right, the second town. The first town is Rio Maggiore, and then Manarola, and then Vernazza. And I think Manarola is my favorite, and I think that is why I put this shot here. Uh, I like Cinque Terre immensely because there are cafes here. I'm actually sitting in a cafe bar, sipping a strawberry mojito, and my tripod is set up with my camera on intervalometer and shooting away. And just the easiest of things to do. Shoot 1 or 2 long exposures for the sky and the sea and smooth out the water, and then just wait for the lights to come on, and then just merge the best exposures into an image. So this is my kind of photography. I can sip my strawberry mojito and shoot at the same time. I can't ask for anything more.
Mm. So, but we did not see that mojito in your list of gears.
Jasiji, you will regret saying that, because I will show you.
Okay, you will show me. Would love to see that.
So Indian Photo Arts, one of the most popular magazines, a lot of greats like Jasiji have been featured in this, in the same magazine. I'm quite proud to be part of the same magazine as who feature people like Jasiji. So they did 8-page feature on Cinque Terre, uh, showing a little bit about the life in Cinque Terre, the fisherman's house, their clothes hanging out, and this is the view. As soon as you get down from the station, this is the view that greets you from the station. I've done, as you might have guessed, Italy is quite a popular. It's one of my favorite countries to visit. I've done various blogs on Italy. So I initially thought I would show the Vatican Diaries, but because Jasiji wants to see my mojito, let me do that. Let me see if I can show you. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, but black.
You might have to switch to your Chrome or Internet Explorer.
Okay, let's try again. What is the complication? Why don't I see this? You can't see this, right?
No, but you've stopped sharing. So once you open it, you have to start sharing again.
Okay, let me try.
Yeah, can see it.
Okay, great. So I did this visit in October 2015, and just talked about my journey. This is my path. I was coming from Venice, and from Venice I went to the to Cinque Terre, came to Cinque Terre. First stop was Rio Maggiore. I actually stayed in Rio Maggiore, and this is the view I told you. This is the view straight from the station. As soon as you get off the station, this is the view you get. This is Rio Maggiore, right early in the morning. Local people, this is how they stay. Another view of Rio Maggiore. This is a panel of the whole town from the rocks. The interesting story about Rio Maggiore is that after the First World War, people in these towns were afraid how would the local population grow, and they wanted the young people of the villages to meet each other, and so they built this road called Via del Amore, or the Lovers Road, so that the young people from the two villages could meet each other and fall in love and get married and maybe procreate. So,
Too late for us.
so very nice story about
But get married on the same road?
I
You
mean,
could get married, you could procreate on the same road, you could do whatever you want.
Whatever you.
Very good. रोड पे ही बैठना है ना after that.
So this is the mojito that I was having while I was shooting this, and you can see my knife.
Oh man.
This is, and these strawberries are to die for. I can tell you these strawberries are really to die for. Just a street. This is the local school, the kindergarten. And another view of Manarello. And you can see the next village from here. So you keep on, these are 5 villages in one line. You keep going from one village to the other. And yeah, so I was also standing on somebody's grave. God forgive me. But I had so much alcohol in me by then, I didn't know. There was no fear. I was not worried about ghosts or anything. So I came back quite late at night, and then early morning I shot Varnaza. So sorry about that. I didn't mean you to see my image. I must pay you back immediately for whatever you have paid me. So let's get back. I will have to stop sharing again. Okay. Okay. Here. Okay. So just to finish off, I've done some blogs, and I think we can leave the links below in the description. And this gives you a fairly good idea about Vatican, Cinque Terre, and Venice, if you ever decide to visit. 2017.
I will definitely take your guidance before I go to Italy.
Of course.
Need lots of informations.
Of course, anytime.
Load your shots in my mobile so that I can copy them. Don't have to look for fresh compositions.
I don't know. I have a PDF. I have a PDF of all the shots in Paris, so I can just send that across to you.
Nice. That will be nice.
I have to know why to go. Just take those images, give your signature, and post.
So, PDF with all the GPS coordinates, everything. It's a ready-made document which I can just hand over to you. So, 2017, very, very important year. Like Jesse G said, my first time shooting alongside Jesse and Prakash. So much to learn from these two greats, and it, I think, made a huge impact on my photography. Of course, I went there with only one shot in mind. That was the Kirkufell.
And I can very well remember that how you were kind of, no, we need to go to Kirkufell first. So we just can't afford to miss it. And we need to go it again and again. So yeah, fantastic.
I didn't care about anything else.
I know.
On full force, GT force, I said, when will this crap get over? I want to get to Kirkufell. And the first day we landed in Kirkufell, I remember very well, it was so windy. We could not keep our tripods on the ground.
Yeah. Do you have some image of that night?
I have images, but they're all blurred. There's nothing.
Yeah, because I remember the tripods and cameras flew off.
Yes. I think I opened the door a little bit.
Yeah.
I opened the door, I got out of the car, and the wind tore the door away from me and slammed it. If I had my hand in there, my hand would have been chopped off. It was so hard. That wind was so hard. And there was just no way we could shoot anything. So that first day was washed out. And I was so disappointed. That I quickly decided that I'm going to break away from, after shooting on the last day, I was going to break away. I was going to take a flight, go back to Reykjavik, and drive down to Kirkufell. And ultimately, Jasiji and Prakash also decided to come, and we met up there. Okay. So, and but I had more time than them. You guys came a little late.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, you guys reached a little late.
And
So
you
I
were,
was able to see some color in the sky
yeah,
before you. I think you guys came after this color.
I know, I know.
So these are two shots. I took two horizontal shots because I was first shooting a single image, but I thought the composition was just cutting off from here, and I didn't like that. So I wanted a little bit extra, and I didn't want to cut off this small bridge here. So I took two shots horizontally, and I think it's a little odd. The aspect is a little odd, but I didn't want to cut off the edges here. So really a shot that is very close to my heart. So of course I wanted to get this iconic shot and the other iconic shots, but also I was very happy with Iceland because I got a lot of offbeat shots, which not a lot of people have or have shot. And this is one of them. This is Kirkufell from the other side. Uh, and the whole idea of coming to this location was because the sunset was happening on the other side of Kirkufell. So of course the waterfall is not in this image, but I think I got some nice foreground, and the shape of this mountain looks like a witch hat.
Yeah.
And
I'm yet to get to.
I posted on, yeah, I posted this. I called this the Witch Hat Mountain. I posted this on Facebook on one of the groups, and I had a lot of angry Icelanders after me saying that, "Oh, you have just insulted a whole generation of Icelanders." And I said, "Well, how can anybody be insulted? It's just a comment on the shape of this mountain, and no, that is very sacred. This mountain is very sacred." So I took off my post because they felt insulted. But it does look like a witch hat, and that is all I wanted to point
Yeah.
out.
I was about to say that the moment I saw the image.
Actually, the word Kirk means church.
Yes.
So it's the church-shaped mountain. So that is why. So probably your coining of that witch hat somehow didn't go well with them because church, and
Yes.
so that is probably would be the reason. But this is an amazing image because I have been to this spot, but I have never been able to create any decent image even to share. So
Thank you.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Incidentally, I think I forgot to mention this was published in the Practical Photography magazine. They actually called me and they said that we want to feature this image, and this was published in 2019.
Wow.
Vestra,
Lovely shot.
the more popular shots of Vestrahorn are with the mounds, the mounds of grass, or if you're shooting in the winters, you would have the snow mounds. And I went anywhere that I was standing to shoot, I had somebody photographing this in my image. So I walked a long way ahead, a long way.
I remember.
And when you walk that far, you cannot get this in a single shot. It's impossible. The 16 is just not wide enough. That's when I thought of taking a pano. And I think these are 8 or 9 images. And this is 8 or 9 images, very big pano, huge pano. I toyed with the idea of adding a reflection and making it a little more interesting, but in the end, I did not do it, and I just went ahead and posted this shot, and I think I prefer it this way, rather than adding a reflection or adding some other.
And I had to clone you out from my image because you were right there in front.
Not fair. I was such an interesting foreground element for you. Moving on, Gullfoss, again a very popular spot. Prakash has very nice images from here, and this is a slightly different take. Skogafoss. So the story about this shot is, um, this morning we were supposed to shoot another waterfall. We were supposed to shoot, and let me try and pronounce it. I don't know if I'll get it right. Forgive me if I don't, but you'll get the idea. We were planning to shoot Seljaland Foss, the
Perfect.
fall from the cave. We were planning to do that. Over dinner, the last evening dinner, Prakash showed me his pano shot from the previous visit from here. And the moment he showed me his pano, I knew that I had to get the shot. There's no way I was leaving this place without a pano of this shot, of this image. So I woke up earlier than anybody else because we were planning to go for sunrise to the other place. I woke up before anybody. And just to make sure that nobody goes without me, I kept the car keys in my pocket and I went to shoot.
I remember that. I was like frantically looking for Sandeep. मेरा tripod अंदर रह गया भाई.
He was very angry, but I just had to get this shot. There was no way I was leaving this place without getting this pano. And in the end, I got this pano, and I'm quite happy about it. And then
yet there was a person before you.
There was one guy before me, yes, but which is okay because it gave me a sense of scale in the image. One guy was okay. I didn't want anybody else. I didn't want anybody else in the show.
That's why you hit his tripod.
My tripod and everything was locked inside the car, and he is with the key.
That is the backstory for this shot.
And that's why I don't sit with him in the car. He is always on a different car.
Good one.
Okay.
Guys, if you shoot me, I will be all over your photos. I'm telling you beforehand. Like, I move a lot. I never stay in one frame. Probably in sunset, I take 10 frames, and most likely I'll be in your frames, guys.
We're glad you're in North America. We're glad you're in North America.
Before me, Atanu, I know that is impossible.
So I learned how to clone after Sandeep started shooting in that.
Yeah.
Today, yeah.
So DT Foss, of course, this is the more popular shot, and this is what people usually walk away with. And after finishing the shot, we were walking back to our car park. That's where I saw this view, and the sky was on fire by then. And so Prakash and I were standing here. I think we were together here, and we shot this view. So handheld, high ISO, but still I like the composition.
It's lovely.
Again, talking about offbeat shots, this is the first night in Iceland.
I know.
How lucky it is, how fortunate it is that the first night you land in Iceland, take a drive, and you see something like this. I'd never ever seen Northern Lights before this. So for me, it was one of the most magical moments. I didn't know how to shoot this. I had no idea how to shoot this. I didn't know how to focus in the dark. And Jasiji and Prakash very quickly showed me how to focus and what to do. And but I think this is still, the exposure is too long. I could have reduced the exposure a little bit to get more detail. But I also wanted the detail in the foreground. I didn't want a dark foreground. So I know there is nothing special, but it was my first sighting of Aurora. And,
which is always special, yeah.
Very special for me. This image, again, very interesting because we were just driving, we were heading to some other spot. I think we were heading for the Diamond Beach at this time. But we saw a few cars. We saw a couple of cars standing. We thought
I remember. I
we
think weather was very bad.
very bad, very dull weather,
Yeah.
no light, nothing. And I took this shot, and uh, I never thought twice about this shot. I never edited it. I never processed it till 2 months ago or 3 months ago. I think I processed it in the COVID lockdown period. And this is what I ended up with. I thought I should have processed it earlier. But Justity said that if I could go over my workflow, so I think I will show this workflow, how I edited this image. Again, another offbeat. This is while driving to Kirkufell, and we stopped on the way. We saw this beautiful location, the two sheep in the foreground, and the little church just made for an interesting image for me. And I think I like the light. And the strange part about Iceland is between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. you get the most beautiful light, especially in October. And this was just the time. And
Yeah.
I wish I could have been in at Kirkufell at this time, but I'm happy with whatever I can get. And then this shot of Seljaland Foss was on the cover of Light and Landscape, a very popular magazine from the UK. And so this was the crowning glory of Iceland, made the trip so worthwhile. I don't know if Prakash and Jasiji shot from this corner. I think I
No,
saw only from the other corner. Your shots were from this corner.
Yeah.
This is the more interesting corner actually, and I didn't know better at that time, so I took the shot from this. But
this is very unique composition because you hardly see any image from this angle.
Yeah, and the reason I was shooting from here was that the parking lot was not visible from here, so I thought, oh, okay, let me try and get a shot from here where the cars are not in the frame. So that was my thought process. And of course, it was a very dull day. If you remember, Jasiji and
Yeah.
Prakash, this was very cold. It was -5 degrees and very cold, very dull. And the spray was just absolutely killing you.
Most difficult places to shoot.
I never went down this angle.
Yeah.
Never.
-5 degrees, wind, very strong wind, and extremely cold. And we were completely wet taking the shot. The cameras were wet. If we took a 15-second exposure, we were wiping the lens during that exposure. So everything that we had learned, that to put the camera on the tripod, use external trigger so that you don't shake the camera, you don't touch the camera, all that went out of the window in Iceland. Every waterfall that we were shooting, we were wiping the lens in between the shots, not between shots, during the exposure, we were wiping the lens.
Yeah.
And there's no other way. There's no other way.
So I remember one thing that that about the during the exposure stuff that I forgot my ND filter while taking the Seljaland Foss picture, and what I ended up doing is that I ended up flicking my hand in front of the lens so that light comes less and it create an ND effect, like long exposure effect. It worked kind of. In the lack of the filter, I just whipped a black cloth with my hand in front of the lens.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, in these places, if you forget everything. Yeah,
that's a nice tip.
I mean, this place you can't just I mean, you are right. I mean, all those teachings of not touching camera just goes out of the window in this place. There is so much wind, mist, fog, and people, and slippery slopes, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the toughest place. One of the toughest place.
Yeah.
I think
Definitely.
for me
one
it's
of
been the
toughest
toughest
places
place so far.
And not only that, even climbing up, it's such a slippery slope. It's such a slippery way to climb up.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people who have slipped from here climbing up. It's very, very
Yeah,
dangerous.
I fell twice on the way. That pant, didn't wash after
That
that,
was quite, quite
having
tough.
ice and mud.
Just a quick stop at Hong Kong. One of my favorite haunts in Hong Kong is this Man Mo Temple, very popular Buddhist temple. It has amazing light. It has an amazing atmosphere. I I've shot this twice, and I have not been able to do justice to this place. I can tell you this. It is every time I go in here, it gives me the goosebumps. You have this light filtering, this cold blue light filtering from the roof, and you have these warm candles burning. It's just a magical experience to do this. And no trip to Hong Kong is complete without shooting at the Victoria Peak. Hong Kong is known for its smog, and that is something that you can never predict or you cannot avoid. But it also lends a kind of a care, and at sunset and sunrise, you can get this very nice atmosphere, which I love in my shots. But the thing is that you have to be here where it's east and the sun rises very early. So you have to land up here around 4 o'clock. Normally people take trams. There's a tram that takes you up to this peak, but it starts working only after 9 o'clock and shuts down at, I think the last tram is around 10 o'clock or 10:30. And I know somebody who took some tips from me to visit this place and shoot this place, and didn't find the tram and started walking up this mountain. And it's just impossible to walk up. It's
Yeah.
really half a day's walk to walk up, but not naming them, but they know who they are. Uh, United Kingdom.
I think you should have given some hint. We should have opened the visa office today and given visa for today's Europe tour during COVID.
Uh, before coming to the images, um, as a young man, when I was starting my business, when the business was just taking off, I was visiting UK very often, and uh, usually my itinerary used to be I would get down at London. I would stop, of course, land in London, uh, finish off my meetings in London or wherever I was going, and then take a ferry to Holland. So the ferry used to leave from a place called Felixstowe, and at night. So you take your car, you drive on the ferry, and these ferries. The interesting part of these ferries was they used to have a casino on them. So you you land up, you take an overnight flight, you land up in London early in the morning, you work all day and drive to Felixstowe, uh, drive the car into the ferry, park your car, get off the ferry at night. This is at 10 o'clock, 10:30, and straight away head into the casino. You buy some beer or drinks, and you keep some money for trying your luck. So normally my limit was £100, and which in those days was a lot of money. I'm talking about 1998 to 2000. My limit was £100. I would have always have £100 in my pocket to try my luck in the casino. And then you would get down at Rotterdam in Holland, drive off to Germany. And I used to do this about from 99 to 2000. I did it about 6 or 7 times. And I can tell you what an experience it was, what sights I saw. Sometimes my visa, one trip I remember, I landed in Rotterdam. I was to land up in Rotterdam, but my visa was from the next day. And I was so afraid that I'm going to land up and I would not have a visa and I would be sitting at the immigration office all day and I would be in trouble, or maybe they will even send me back. But when I landed in Rotterdam that day, there was nobody in the immigration office. And I just drove off. I just ran from there as fast as I could. And so for the whole day, I was in Europe without a valid visa. So, but at that time, I was not into photography. So I so miss those days when I was doing this so often and I was not into photography.
So
But
that is
how
when
much
the
you
running
won?
started.
I beg your pardon?
How much you won?
I
on
usually
this?
lost it. Either I lost it on the craps table or I drank it. So in any case, that 100 pounds was gone.
And that is where you started running.
Oh, no. I was a runner in school. From school,
Okay.
I was 100 meters and 200 meters and long jump. So I was into running. So
अच्छा ये खून में है यानी कि
खून में है.
Unme. Good one.
So Lake District, I visited in 2018. Lake District is, and when we were doing the show with Enrico, he talked about this, that he lives in an area near the Alps where the weather is always gray and not the, they don't get the colorful skies so much. It reminded me of Lake District. And I have edited these pictures after our session with Enrico and tried to see if I could maybe learn something from Enrico and implement it on these two images, use the dark processing he talks about, and he's of course a master, but I tried to do my bit in this.
Which month was it?
This would be Jasiji, June, I think. June. This is the Lake District, very near to Yorkshire. So they have very dull, grey, murky weather.
Okay.
And usually it's raining. I think it was raining during these shots also, but it was less. But I think I was there for 3 days. It didn't stop raining for 3 days. I promise you it didn't stop. It was raining all days. Of course, the Tower Bridge, our favorite spots. You can get so many compositions here, so many compositions. But I like to shoot from the other side, this side of the river. I normally I've always stayed on the other side of the river, but I like to shoot from this side because then you can get the Tower Bridge and the Shard from this view. So you get many compositions. You can just keep on shooting this area. Another interesting place in UK I like a lot is Bath near Coventry, and these are Roman baths. These are Roman baths, ancient baths, and now they are well preserved. And I was not expecting to see them lit up. Most of the monuments in the UK, they close down at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. And when I was visiting this place, I called them up ahead, and they were surprisingly very responsive on the phone, very polite. And I said, I'm a photographer. I would like to shoot this with the lights. And they said, well, there's no problem. You can shoot till 9 o'clock. And that might be good for you because most of the crowd leaves by then for dinner. And if you want to stay back and shoot this, you can do that. So I think apart from me and my wife, there was only this couple here, and I think they added to the image. And this water is not safe anymore. You're not allowed to touch this water. but they show you how the old Roman baths operated, and seems like a fun time. Moving on to Germany, the last 5 years, this is the country I visited most, and I shot the least because usually it's business in Germany, and I just go in for the business and come in. But in 2018, I was going to be in Munich for 3 days, and I spoke to my friend Kai Hornuk, who was on our show a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And, I asked him for some advice, and he pointed me towards Hintersee. And the moment he said Hintersee, and I had seen a shot from Hintersee, I said, okay, that's decided. He gave me a lot of options, but I said, okay, my mind is made up. I'll go to Hintersee, and I'll see if I can combine Hallstatt with this. Hallstatt is in Austria. And immediately, I think within a week, Peter Iverson came up with his video on Hallstatt and Hintersee. So that was a nice coincidence. So that, of course, completely made up my mind. Okay, this is what I'm going to shoot and going to see. So I first actually went to Hallstatt. I hired a car. Again, a happy coincidence. I hired a car, uh, booked average sedan, and I got upgraded to a BMW. And that was a happy coincidence. And so I drove this BMW up to Austria first, stayed in a hotel, and I've got that picture later on. But Hintersee was just beautiful. It was just such a magical lake, such a magical place. In fact, this is the end of my journey. And I took this shot the first afternoon. I shot the normal shots with the compositions. I tried to be careful that I keep separation between the rocks, keep some separation between the shadows. And then the idea occurred to me that why don't I put myself in this frame? And I've never done this before. I've never done this before. And this stretch, it does not show up, but this is at least about, to memory, I would say about 12 feet. Yeah, at least maybe 12 to 15 feet, or if you like meters, 3 to 5 meters. And there are some rocks which are under the water. So my idea was to step on these rocks, jump on these rocks, and land up here. So I would only get my little bit of my boots wet, and that would be fine. And I put my camera on an intervalometer, hopped up, reached here without any mishap, got here, posed here for till I knew I had my shots. I could hear the shutter going off, so I knew I'd got my shots. As I was walking back, I stepped on one of the rocks here, which tumbled, and I was in the water. And the water was cold. Of course, we are talking about October in Munich, near Munich. It was cold, and I was completely wet. But I was not done for the day. So I kept shooting for another 1 hour in all the wet shoes, wet socks, wet pants, wet everything. And then I finished off my shoot and changed my clothes and went to dinner. The next morning, I was supposed to, this shot is, yeah. So the next, this is actually the day after, which was the day I was supposed to come back to Munich. And Munich is about a 3-hour drive from here. I woke up with high fever. I didn't know it at that time, but I woke up with high fever. I don't know whether because of the dunking in the cold water or what. I woke up with high fever. I did not realize that I had fever, but I had a lot of body ache. But somehow I dragged myself because I wanted one morning shot, one blue hour shot of this composition. Dragged myself out of bed, went down. It was raining. It was raining, so I waited for half an hour sitting down, just waited for the rain to stop. Then I saw the rain stopped. I came here, took my shots, whatever I could, went back in, paid the hotel, drove 3 hours back to Munich, handed over the car, got into an 8-hour flight, got home, and then I was sick for at least a week with all running high fever, 104, 103 all week till I got better. But in the end, I was not too happy. I was not disappointed with this shot, quite a nice shot. And it was worth the effort, I think, because the dark in moody conditions and well, you have these interesting experiences when you take these images.
Yeah.
Moving on, Maria Gren. This was another composition that I had in mind as soon as I decided to go to this area. This is about 5 kilometers away from the lake. And the trick was to get the church and the mountain. This looks like a broken tooth, so it's called the Broken Tooth Mountain. And the idea was to get the shot in at sunset, and then wait for the car trails, to add the car trails. Firstly, the sunset didn't happen, and it was dull and gray, and there was no golden hour. And then we kept waiting for this, the lights for the church to come on, and they just didn't come on. It seems that only if they have a service in the evening, that is only when they switch on the lights. Finally, there was another photographer next to me, and then we decided that I would operate both the photographs, both the cameras, and they would go up to the church, and using the light from their mobile phones, we shot long exposures so that the light is evened out. And then, of course, I accentuated this light in post. And that is how we created the light on the church. And for me, if the light was not on, then this would be a nothing shot. It just wouldn't work. Even if I had the light rates, it would still be a nothing shot without the light rates. So that was the way we created this shot. Another very interesting composition from the same area, Berchtesgaden. I'm sure I made a hash of the pronunciation, but a very nice location, very nice area, and lots of nice compositions. You will see that I love shooting churches. It's a recurring theme in my images. I love shooting churches inside and outside, and you will see that this is a recurring theme. Moving on, so I think that's okay. The last image from Cologne. This was the trip on my return from Norway. Just Siji and Prakash, we were together in Norway, and on my return to Norway, I stopped in Cologne for some meetings, and that's when I got this panel. So the one, I've just one shot in this presentation from Austria, from Hallstatt, and I have multiple shots from some from sunset, some from the golden hour, but this early morning shot I like the most because it's like a touch of gold. The lights are just a touch of gold. This is a little bit after sunrise. And when we went there, the town lights were switched off. And that was very disappointing for us that, we just missed the town lights. And again, without the town lights, this is really a nothing shot. But suddenly at 7 o'clock, well past the sunrise, the town lights were switched on. And I was just amazed and shocked. And I'm just lucky that I managed to get this shot. It was switched on for 5 minutes, I think. Maybe they were trying out some new switches or something. They just switched on for 5 minutes and I was able to get this. And I like to call it the touch of Midas because of the golden touch. Coming to Norway, but before Norway, guys, can I take a 1 minute break?
Yeah.
Is that okay? I need a break for a minute.
So guys, all I can say is that I think he's fascinated by those evening lights getting switched on, and I'm privy to that. I think he will share certain images. I think one image from Slovenia as well, where we were waiting and for the lights to come on, and he would really wait till eternity. And the moment lights would come on, maybe then that is what he will start creating images. And he does that quite often. And I think that shows in his images the magic coming out of it. Fantastic. I think let us.
You need those lights to be, to show that effect. Without them, it just looks like a ghost town.
Yeah, I know. I know, but yeah, what I'm saying is that I've seen him do that. So he would go to any extent to get those lights, and so him using somebody else to really light up that particular church with the mobile phone flash is kind of testimony to that fact that without that he will not come back. So that's amazing.
So did we have some announcements to make, guys? Or have we covered that?
No, we will make. So first you finish off with this session.
Okay.
So guys, we have certain amount, one important announcement to make, which we'll make towards the end of the session. So Sandeep ji, please share, because I think we have already gone past 2 hours, 20 minutes almost.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
You need to share again.
Oh, you have 40 slides to go.
Oh, I'll move fast. We don't have to see the whole presentation. We can stop whenever. Okay. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hamnoy, of course, we woke up to a very, very colorful morning in Hamnoy. Again, Jasiji, Prakash and I were there together. Took multiple shots, panos, everything, but this, we had this pink hue only for a very brief time. And this was my favorite shot from that day. Rhine Village, we of course had a very, very dull gray day, and we could only, we got a brief window when there was some light, and the rest of it had to be added in post. Of course, the dream is to catch the northern lights and the aurora. I think we got the aurora a couple of times in Norway, but this was the best night. But it was really cold this night. It was, I think, -20 or something. And we had ice on our cameras, on our tripods by the time we finished. I shot a time lapse during this.
By the time we finished, me and you.
I, yes, yes, exactly. And this was one of the shots from the time lapse. This was my favorite image, not the popular composition from Iceland, but
Norway.
from Norway. Sorry, not one of the popular compositions, but we were waiting for Jesse and Prakash to join us, and we thought it was a good shot. But before visiting Norway, and when I thought of Norway, and the thoughts, in my imagination, this is what I thought Norway would look like: the fjords, the mountains, the water, and this really represents what I had thought of Norway before actually getting to visit. And so I was happy, and I saw this view, and we were all, I think we all have shots from here. This was one morning when I think this is the morning that Jassi and Prakash landed in Norway. The night before you landed.
Night before.
And you were not with me on
No.
early in the morning. I think you slept in late, so I went out alone, and we got this incredible sunrise and amazing cloud formations. And this is just this low water. This is low water, and there was this little lighthouse here. I just loved the sky and the colors in the sky. Again, some more churches. And this is, I think we talked about this church during Prakash's presentation. Like I said, I have 4 compositions, but Prakash walked back behind this church and got his composition, which turned out to be the best of the lot. But this is an amazingly picturesque scenic spot, and you cannot go wrong with any composition from here. A very, very beautiful location. This is Senya. This is where I broke away from Jasiji and Prakash, and I drove 4 hours to Senya. And these are very popular mountains, and they are called the Devil's Teeth. Because of their shape, because of their unique shape, they're called the Devil's Teeth. And unfortunately, it was a dull and gray day, but I like this image with the reflections and the sea and the ominous clouds with the Devil's Teeth.
Yeah, they look like shark teeth.
Holland, again, I had a nice trip to Holland in 2019, January 2019. I had to visit 2 or 3 countries. I visited Holland, Germany, and Hungary. These are 3 places I visited, and this is a very common composition. This is a cheese shop. Everybody shoots it, and I got some nice colors in the sky. But my plan was, I got down at the airport, and my plan was to come here. I arrived at Zanzibar with 2 completely gray skies, completely murky gray skies, and there was nothing substantial. I photographed, of course, but there was nothing substantial. And I was scheduled for the next day. I had kept some other plan. But I was so disappointed with the sky the first day that I thought, instead of trying a new place, I know the compositions here, let me go back and try my luck. I came here early in the morning, 7 o'clock, nobody inside, first car in the parking lot, came here, got the light, got the shot. And I think it was a good decision to come back, because I knew the composition, and the light was there for only a brief time. and I was able to capture when the colors were really vibrant. I also went up to Amsterdam for the night, and there's nothing like shooting Amsterdam at night. You can get these windows, the colored windows, and the dark gray houses. So typically, what I did for these shots were a really long exposure, 2 or 3 minutes, and then a short exposure for the lights so that I don't blow out the highlights, and the two shots were merged. Hungary, Budapest, of course. This is a pano of from the Buddha Castle, and I'm at the castle overlooking the chain bridge and the famous parliament. It's one of the most beautiful parliament buildings in the world. And Hungary has had a checkered history, and for the history buffs, Hungary has a checkered history, and often they've been shunting between. They had Austrian masters at some point of time. They had Spanish masters some other time, and there was a very famous poet who said, "The motherland has no home." And using this statement, they came up with this idea of building the best, the most beautiful parliament building. And I really think this is a piece of art. Last year, I think it was, yes, Japan happened 2019. Started off with Tokyo, the Rainbow Bridge, very popular spot. Again, a long exposure merged with the lights. Mount Fuji, of course, there's no way you can visit Japan without shooting Mount Fuji. That has to be the center of all your attractions. Multiple views of Mount Fuji. This is the Churito Pagoda. For me, visiting Japan, I wanted to get these two shots. One with the Churita Pagoda. Of course, the next time I go here, I make sure that I'm here early and I can shoot it from the left. Then you get a better separation between the pagoda and Mount Fuji. But by the time I got there, this was already lined up. There were 10 other photographers, and I could only squeeze in towards the right. And literally, we had tripods in between tripods here because a very small platform. And I was just lucky to get that spot to take this shot.
But Sandeep, for me, this has to be one of the best shots in your portfolio, the Churato Pagoda. The conditions, the light specifically, I think it's absolutely sublime. Yes, obviously compositionally they could have been separate, but then again, I think the tonal range is so distinct. I don't think they really, overlap each other visually. In my
Agree.
opinion.
I almost missed this shot. I missed this shot because I was psyched by my family. This is like 400 steps.
Yes.
You have to take 400 steps up to this mountain, and nothing to be scoffed at. Huh? You have to be reasonably fit to do this. And they psyched me into not carrying my camera bag. So I walked up 400 steps with just the one lens and the one camera. And I was shooting all through the afternoon. Just before sunset, battery conked off. The one battery I had conked off, and I was so furious. So ultimately, I went down the 400 steps, got my batteries and my other camera too. Just didn't want to take any chance. Came back again and shot the final sunset shot. And so that night, I did 800 steps just to get this one shot. And तब तो पता नहीं चला. Then we came down, drove to the hotel, and when I got out of my car, I was wobbling. My legs were rubber.
Japan does leave you fit 100%.
So this is the other shot. So the Churito Pagoda and the Hokanji, this is in Kyoto, of course. I used to dream about this. I told you about my dreaming about Mont Saint Michel. I had the same dreams about this shot. And I can tell you, there is a magical quality about this place. It is just magic. And what you cannot see or you will not feel is there were at least 25 to 30 photographers alongside me taking the shot. But everybody was respectful. Everybody was, if somebody had to move, they would warn everybody that we are walking. And it's just amazing. People are so polite in Japan. It's just an amazing culture, amazing people. So this is a shot I took when I landed and when I went up to Kiyomizu Dera Temple. It was under construction, so I was not able to get the normal composition. But I spotted this temple way out in the forest, and just to give you a sense of scale, you can barely see this. This is shot at 200 mm, and you can see the perspective. This is a young girl watching the same temple, and you can see the perspective. And this is where the 70-200 came in handy. I would not have got this shot if I didn't have the 70-200. King Kakuji, the Golden Pavilion, very, very famous spot, teeming with people. There were people everywhere here. So one had to get a little creative to get this shot and to have one shot where there are no people in the shot. Slovenia, Jasiji and I mentored a workshop in Slovenia last year, October, and Lake Bled, one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen, consisting of Bled Island and a church on that Bled Island. And you can get multiple compositions here, various compositions, various times of day. You will get different compositions, different views. Just a magical place. This is a complete panel with the Bled Castle, Bled Island, and I think we were staying somewhere here. So, and the sunrise happens in this direction. So a complete panel, I think 8 or 9 shots, and again bracketed. Lake Bohinj, again multiple compositions possible. We arrived here to a very dark and ominous weather, but in the end, I think we were quite happy with the compositions that we got.
Love the composition with the chair.
Yeah. Actually, this is not my, I have to admit, this is not my composition. We had one of the participants who found these compositions. I just helped her to fine tune the geometry a little bit so that we get the perspective straight. But I really cannot claim to have found this composition. It was really her vision that got us here.
I think the color palette is brilliant. More than the composition, I loved the wooden plank, the brown getting into the aquamarine, and then the church. Beautiful transition.
Thank you. Churches again. Slovenia is the Slovenia countryside is dotted with these hilltop churches, each more beautiful than the other, each with very, very beautiful settings, and the conditions are just to die for. We arrived here to a dense, I don't know whether it was a fog or a cloud, but it was very, very dense when we arrived here. We created some light in post-processing to make it interesting. And then another church, this is the Svete Sobota. And I think this was, Jesse, do you remember the name? Was it
This is, I even don't remember the name.
Primrose? This was
Primrose, yeah, Saint Primrose.
and Sobota. So this is lying on the ground. I I wish somebody had taken a behind the scenes shot of this. All participants, Jassi ji, myself, all on the
Floor.
grass. This at floor level. 5 or 6 of us shooting this from the grass. Predjama Castle, again, multiple composition. The castle is built into this mountain into a cave. A very unique place, very unusual and very interesting. Ljubljana, again, the pink church, very unusual color for a church, but nice compositions and very nice small city. Finally, come to the COVID year 2020, nothing much we could do. Spent most of our time usefully productive, learning about photography from greats. Thanks to this panel and this initiative by Xploring Light, we got to meet and talk to such famous photographers. That was the high point of this year. And the one, we had some good news. I was published in Practical Photography magazine again this year, who did a 2-page feature on my pictures and my images in their June issue. So that was a little bit of cheer in an otherwise uninteresting year. The one time I got out to shoot nearby Delhi, I got a nice sunset, which is unusual for Delhi, a nice colorful sky. And 2 important events. One was the annular solar eclipse. This I shot from my terrace, didn't have to go anywhere, couldn't go anywhere actually. So, but anyway, it was something to do. And of course, shooting the comet Neowise.
God.
Trying for 10 days, tried really hard from my terrace, could not really shoot it. And finally, just got into my car, drove some miles away, and was able to find a decent composition and take some shots. And thank you very much for your time.
I think it's been
sleeping.
it's been an amazing journey as a photographer. I must say that. And the only thing that I would like to add here is that I've seen his passion, and I think I mentioned this in previous Team Bytes session also, and Prakash's session. I think I mentioned a couple of incidents that about Sandeep. So I've seen him shoot, and I can vouch for the kind of energy that he has and he shows, and his single pointed focus to create good images is something that is phenomenal. I think it will not be wrong if I say that when I was co-leading with him in Slovenia, it was him who was inspiring me more, and really keeping me on my toes, trying to do justice to our mentorship. And I think the whole credit goes to him for what he did and the way he shoots. And I will repeat again that he almost scripted the Runaway Bride Part 2, and that was hilarious in Norway. I will not get into details all over again. Anybody wants to know that, check out the previous Team Byte session. And it's really phenomenal. But Sandeep, one just thought. How about now trying to create images from Ladakh and Northeast and other, maybe even Kerala? Because one thing was missing is your Indian landscapes. So have you not shot them, or because we know that your business takes you to these places, and that is when you take full advantage of those official tours and really create images. But have you gone to Ladakh or other places in India?
Yes, I have traveled extensively in India, but no, Ladakh is still pending. Northeast is pending, and so hopefully I tick off these two off my bucket list in the coming years when as soon as the COVID lifts. Northeast is definitely on my cards. Ladakh, I have I don't know, maybe it's a psychological fear of the lack of oxygen in Ladakh. I don't know how I'll fare in that. I've never experienced that as yet.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. After the moment you reach 800 steps, that is how you feel. You will feel in Ladakh.
Take Red Bull. You
Or
will
the
get.
amount of oxygen would be same as Delhi actually. That's all you know.
You're very right.
That's true. That's true.
No, but that is it has been in my mind. To be honest, that has been in my mind. I don't know how I'll fare with the height and the oxygen, but it will not stop me from trying. I will definitely try that. And Middle East and the Northeast definitely have to
Ladakh on bike.
do. Beg your pardon?
Ladakh on bike.
Yeah, could be. I have an invitation to do that. To be honest, I might take it up.
Fantastic. So I don't know. Do you have any questions? Anybody? Otherwise, we are already inching to 3 hours. So I think you can quickly show us through your workflow. Maybe one image that you can just pick and
Okay.
take us through. Then we will get into 10 minutes of question answer.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
So let me first start off with, this is the image that I had shot that day. So this is the long exposure. I have the normal exposure as well, but it was a dull gray um, dull day, no definition in the sky, and this is what the final image looks like. And the process is, I'll talk about the process a little bit. How can I make this go? Okay, so this is the first step where I blend the exposures. So I have a long exposure and a normal exposure, and I blend the exposures here. I clean up the image a little bit. Maybe there was some sensor dust on the image. I clean that up. The first step is to add some dynamic contrast. And it's only subtle, but you will see that there is a dynamic contrast is a little bit like vibrance. So it selectively adds contrast. If there's already a contrasty area, it adds little contrast to it. And if the area is devoid of any contrast, it adds more contrast. Very much like how vibrance works. So if the colors are already saturated, it will make a small increase in the saturation. Any colors which are subdued will be influenced more. After adding the dynamic contrast, I add the vignette, and that is where the darkness comes in. So the idea is to clamp down on the highlights and darken the image to the extent possible. After I darken the image, I add some highlights. You will see they are very subtle and not in your face kind of highlights, but I'm just merely adding some highlights to the already bright areas. After this, I add some mid-tone contrast. This is the most important part of the image. I only add contrast to the mid-tones. I don't add contrast to the darks because then we will crush the blacks. I don't want to do that. So I only selectively add contrast to the mid-tones. After this comes the color grading. You can see again, there is a very subtle color grading, nothing very extensive. This color that you see here, this this cannot come from the color balance when you set up the color balance. This you can achieve only with the color grading. After this, I add some micro details. Actually, this is, I must have made a mistake because normally I add the micro details after the highlights. And then I do it, but this time maybe I forgot and I've done it in second stage, at a later stage. After this, what have I done? Not very sure. You can have a look. Okay, maybe I added some warmth to these bright areas. You can see that there is some warmth added here. And here, okay, this is some color dodging and burning. You can see this dodge and burn here. In these areas, I've added some more highlights. And then I think I bring in some more light. I've added some light from this side to give more three-dimensional feel to the image. Maybe some small, maybe again, some small spot removal or something. Added some, what have I added? I'm not very sure what I've, maybe some, a little more darkness, a little more dark. And then a little bit of brightening under the waterfall. Again, some brightening. So a two-stage brightening, a darkening here on the periphery of the image. The periphery of the image is darkened, and then a little bit of brightening here in the waterfall. So that is my workflow. This is how I start from here and keep on making the corrections. So usually I have a very organized workflow. I take planned steps, and most of my images are have a similar kind of a workflow. How much I add or subtract, that would be depending on the images, but pretty much this would be my workflow for all the images.
Fantastic. That's really thought out kind of workflow, because unless you can visualize, you can't even have a workflow. So
yeah, but I'm not a very visual person. I'm not like you and a lot of other great photographers. When they shoot out in the field, they know how they're going to edit it. For me, it is when I sit in front of my computer, that is where I decide which direction am I going to make it, a warm image or am I making a dark image or a cold image. That thought comes only after I sit down in front of my computer.
Okay, fantastic. Anybody has any questions? So
yes. So I found Sandeep on 500px almost like 2 years back, and I felt there was some like rich guy who was like globetrotting, just, filling up the bucket list and then clicking beautiful pictures. Because, around 2.5 years back, when I myself was very new to photography, I mean, I started very late, 3 years back. So I was like trying to cling on to any inspiration I could find. And that's when I found Sandeep. And I think last 2 years, and I think Sandeep knows this, there's a huge inflection point in his post processing. All of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Like prior to that, I've seen like Trocadero and then some, even I think France majorly, a lot of shots which are like little saturated, very warm, some pinkish tone, and then all of a sudden the dark, neutral, with the saturated colors, right? All those good things happen. What happened during that time? Like,
It was very simple. So, 2017, I first started shooting with Jasiji and Prakash. Their images had a huge impact on me, huge impact. I had to give up learning from YouTube. I had to focus on tutorials from the greats. And that is where I started buying tutorials from Ryan Dyer, for example, uh, Daniel Cordon. And Daniel Cordon had a great impact on my post processing. And Juan Pablo. So that is where the realization came in that YouTube is good to a certain extent. But if you want to make the next big jump, then it has to be uh, very specialized tutorials. So, yeah, that is how I made a transition.
And I think I would like to add to that, Som, because you mentioned one phase, but what we saw in that Lake District couple of images that he showed, that's another angle, because that there he tried to implement something that he learned from Enrico Fossati during what he shared during our session. And I think what I shared about Sandeep in the beginning, that is hunger for that zest and quest and then hunger to learn and learn very fast
very cool.
is visible, is palpable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because let me be honest that all these sessions have been for you, me, every one of us, and people out there as well. I have not been able to implement those changes so fast. I know for sure, but I've seen that Sandeep has already done that, and he's been at it. And guys, he's not been sitting idle. He's been managing his business as well all along. And
COVID gave us a lot of time. COVID gave us a lot of time, and I would not have done it normally, but I had time on my hand. And I think, Jasiji, you've not had the time. I'm sure if you and Som had some time to spare, I think it would have been.
I have not, honestly speaking, I have not been able to even sit on those videos and figure out. And I think I will have to do that now because my session will also be coming up very soon. So I better do that now than regret later. But yes, so staying with what you've done is phenomenal, and I personally been privy to those um, changes that you are implementing in your composition as well, and you are making certain complicated composition also look easy. And your Japan that so mentioned about was one. It's kind of little, it's not a usual composition, but yes, that speaks a lot because of the tonality and how you treat your images and through post processing. Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Only favorite photographers?
Juan Pablo, without a doubt.
It
No
shows.
question.
It shows. Very similar approach. Best is for me the best as well.
Okay. Anybody else? Himadri?
Moving ahead, what's next?
Of course, not counting the present company. I've excluded the present company. My favorite photographers are right here on this panel.
Oh.
We learn from each other.
Beg your pardon, Prakash?
I said we learn from each other.
Man, all these sessions of Team Bytes are giving me goosebumps. Let's be honest, and I think it's been giving us all of us goosebumps. And each session has been one better than the other, and I think it's a phenomenal thing that we are getting to see the insights, real insights into each and everybody's work and journey as well. Yeah, great.
Actually, we all have different way of editing, different ideas on composition, everything. Even if we stand in a queue, all of us together, everybody will have a different set of
They'll have
thoughts.
unique images. Absolutely.
Totally,
Yes.
totally.
That's true.
That is right.
Sandeep ji, what's next in your bucket list? Immediate.
Definitely Northeast.
And I knew he's been talking about it non-stop for the last 4 months. So imagine his frustration now.
Definitely Northeast.
Awesome. ये कोविड जल्दी खत्म करके आ जाओ यार आप लोग.
एकदम मैं आने को तैयार हूँ.
Yeah. Now let me just ask you one question. That my question itself is vague in my mind right now as I speak right now. Is that, let's say there are photographers who do only who are professionally into it and leading photo tours and all. They have nothing else to fall back upon in terms of their source of income, and you are here following your passion purely, which started as a hobby, and we can still say that it is primarily still as a hobby because you're not depending upon it as a source of income. You might still make money extra here and there, that's a different thing, but it's not your main source of income. So you have been managing and to kind of quench your thirst of or passion for photography through your travel that you continue to do. How do you see yourself really growing within as a photographer, taking the similar path till what you've been doing, taking till now? Or do you see yourself doing some drastic changes in the way you approach photography? And maybe let's say just a wild thought that that not shooting on your travel only and not only on your photo tours also, maybe just breaking away from everything and going alone and trying to create images. I'm just thinking about, my question might sound vague, but I think what I want to know is that how do you see yourself doing things differently, or do you even plan to do that?
I don't think I see myself doing anything different because work remains. Um, I don't know if I want to call it passion, but work remains a necessity. So but the only thing that I want to do now is to try and get more time off work. And I have managed this because we have a very good team. I have a very good team, very hardworking team, and who don't really need my inputs all the time. They're able to work independently. I've given them all the freedom to work independently. So they shoulder a huge burden work-wise, and my inputs are only required very minimally, which has sped up the time to do work for my passions, which for now is definitely photography. So, but I'm not really your average rich guy. I'm that is that definition that Som gave is not accurate. I have set goals for myself, even for photography. So it's not that because I can afford a D850, I should go and buy a D850 tomorrow. I set my goals that, okay, if for example, when one of the magazine covers bought my photographs, I reward myself for that. Okay, you've done a good job. Now you're allowed to spend some money and do this. So I try and treat my photography journey as a target, just as I do with my business. And it's not just because I can afford it, I will go out and buy it. I should have, I should be good enough to justify that. And that is how I have treated my photography. It's not just that because I can afford it, I should do it. I stay in ordinary hotels. Even when I go out for my photography journey, I stay in ordinary hotels. I don't really go and stay in 5-star. If I'm going with my family for a holiday, of course I stay in a nice hotel. But if I'm going on my own, these things are not important to me. I told you that getting upgraded to a BMW is a nice thing for me. You know, I feel good about it. It's not something that happens every day, and so I'm really a down to earth guy, and I'm quite grounded. That is what I feel. I'm quite grounded.
That's why we stick with you.
Yeah. So all I can say here is,
Rest of the time he is grounded, except when he is shooting. He is flying everywhere.
oh man, oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'd like to see Sandeep ji and Atanu together.
So, I don't know people
We
out
will
there.
have motion blur in front of our camera.
I don't know.
Nikon shooters always rule. Nikon shooters. Atanu is a Nikon shooter. I'm a Nikon shooter.
And
Oh.
you're good at Adri as well.
Nikon should be really missing out not having you in their team, because without you being an ambassador for them, you do so much of like promotion for them. I don't know whether anybody noticed what he said. I immediately noticed it, but I did not say anything. And people out there on YouTube as well, that when he was showing that image of Norway, that he said that this is how I visualized Norway when I first thought about Norway, that fjords and water and all those things. And he said that I created this image while I was waiting for Prakash and Jassi to arrive. We were waiting for Prakash and Jassi to arrive. So that gives a hint that he reaches the spot before even the mentor does, and he waits there, and he said that. So, and that was the incident when Runaway Bride almost happened.
I remember very well. You guys had a flat tire, and that is why you were late.
No, what flat tire? We were shooting somewhere else.
Okay.
ये तब बहाना दिया था आपको, समझ का बहाना था वो. आज पकड़े गए.
Oops.
No, but amazing. I think it's been amazing, and I would like to use this platform to really say that 2017 is when I got to know him very well, when he joined our Iceland tour. Though he joined as a participant, so I would not say that he did not knew photography. He already knew a lot of stuff. And I think that is the beauty of it. Even when you know photography, he decided to join a photo tour and be a part of the group and shooting alongside all of us. And later, when I was looking for an able mentor to really expand out to a new location, I think it was a very natural decision to fall upon somebody like Sandeep, because he had already done Slovenia in his personal capacity, and no regrets. And it's been a phenomenal journey of couple of years together. I think it's been awesome.
Incidentally, we were supposed to be in Slovenia this October.
Yeah, we were, and we were even planning for
Dolomites.
Yeah, Dolomites. Everything was planned, and anyways, nothing can be done. COVID is COVID, and so we just have to accept the facts and the realities. And so good to see you, Atanu, being in your car, so juggling between your shoots and the session.
Thank you. I'm trying my best to be in the session as much as I can. Had to get some breakfast, so and that there was no internet, so I got dropped off. But back again.
I hope you did not sleep off in your car during this session. Because you are in your car.
I am known for doing that, to sleep off during sessions.
He'll have to pay through his
If in my
nose.
car.
Yes, yes.
Madhuri, he will have to
Pardon?
pay through his nose if he did that.
Yes, yes, of course. No, because he is known to sleep in his car. So he himself confessed that the moment I get into the car, it seems like now I have to sleep.
I'm feeling sleepy. Carcolepsy. It's called carcolepsy.
Guys, any questions from for Sandeep, or how do we go about, or we can hand it over to Atanu to make that announcement.
Yeah, we're waiting for
Yes,
Atal.
yes.
No,
Yeah.
Atanu, the announcement.
Oh, the announcement. So, guys who are watching, we will be myself and Himadri mainly, and part of the and the whole Exploring Lights team will be now kind of making the Exploring Light group public, and it will be our honor, it will be our pleasure to invite you all, join there as a community, share your work, get critic recognitions, whatever you want. And we wanted to make a really nice and big and fraternity over there. So if you are watching this, please I'm inviting you all to join there, and Himadri and myself will be putting the link soon, very soon. So yeah, that's the announcement that we were about to make at the very end. And yeah, we were waiting to see you there, over there. We'll see your awesome images, whatever you have to post. And if you want to get opinion from other photographers, fellow photographers who will be joining there, that's okay too. If you want to get some recognition, that's fine. We'll be running a feature page as well in parallel in Insta. So we'll select the best images from our group and we'll feature in Insta too. So there's lots of plans. Keep an eye on that, and we will be getting with more details.
Yeah, I think we can make
Basically-
the announcement public tomorrow on Facebook as well. So Atanu and Himadri will take the lead there. And so, guys, it's Exploring Light with the same spelling, and it's a private group right now. I will try and make it public almost immediately after this session, so that you find it easy to really locate that. Just join in there, and right now the charge will be taken by Atanu and Himadri, and obviously will be supported by everybody sitting here.
Yes.
And it's been managed by other person also. He's another photographer, good photographer from Canada, Manfred Mueller. He's already there. He's currently managing the group so far, and he's been doing a decent job of it, because I know that I have not been able to spend time there. And I think it is a lot of people have been requesting us to really do something on Facebook as well. And we have decided to go full hog now. And you will see some changes happening in the positive direction in days to come.
Thank you. Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
And thanks for providing us that platform and that group, JCG. So we'll be encouraging that. We'll be building up on that, whatever is existing.
Yeah.
That's the best part of it.
So I think, thank you guys. Thank you, Sandeep, for that wonderful taking us through this ride through the Europe, the entire Europe, because as I said, that had I known, I would have put 100 rupees fees for this visa that to travel to Europe. थोड़ा सा पैसे कमा लेते इसी बहाने. But jokes aside, it was phenomenal. I think what you do is awesome. It's not easy. I've been on my work tours as well while I was in my job, and I know that it is not easy. It's not easy.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the virtual tour of the Europe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, nice.
So, अगली बार से अगर होना तो बता देना, हम 100 रुपए की टिकट रखेंगे. Virtual tour. Okay, guys. So thank you, guys. Everybody on YouTube as well. I think what Som wrote there is what even I feel the same way. Thank you all for staying on with us. Really appreciate it. Without all of you, we wouldn't have dared conceiving these sessions, and I think that is what we would love to say this to all of you there. And thank you so much. There are many faces who are regular with us, and your support is priceless to us, and I think we really value that. And thanks for supporting us in all these difficult times that we've been going through, and we've been trying to bring you these sessions. So, okay. And I think last but not the least, yeah, that thumbs up kind of. All right, guys. Fantastic. Done. Done.
Thank
Okay.
you. And good night,
So,
everyone.
see you all
Thanks for
soon,
joining us.
very soon. So, stay in touch, keep waiting, and thank you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Good night.